Good afternoon, everyone. This is George Walker and the BFTAA and More Show coming to you live from KUAW Radio, located in the heart of the urban core of Kansas City in the W.E.B. Du Bois Learning Center, 4510 East Linwood Boulevard, Kansas City, Missouri. We're so glad that you're able to join with us today and glad to have you here. KUAW is a product of a cooperation with the W.E.B. Du Bois Learning Center and the Black Family Technology Awareness Association, who came together and formed this radio, Knowledge, Understanding, and Wisdom. We call it KUAW. And we're also so happy to announce that we have a new collaboration in broadcasting, that we are broadcasting live over the low-power FM station KOJH, located in the historic Jazz District in Kansas City at 18th and Highland, or between 18th and 19th and Highland, at the Mutual Musicians Hall. So we're broadcasting over the air, if you can hear us on the FM side, and we're getting ready to kick that power up just a little bit more for KOJH, so they'll have a boost in power coming to you by the first of the month. This show has not started. It's going to be in October. We'll start broadcasting live, but we tested the process. It's working, and we're going to be coming to you live over the FM radio feed of KOJH, and we're going to keep expanding KUAW's reach because we have some information and some shows that are well worth bringing to the community. So we're out for the world. We're out to conquer the world over the internet, and we're going to conquer the airways of FM and whatever other broadcast mediums we can use. If you want to listen to us, you're picking us up right now. If you can see me, you're listening to us on Facebook or YouTube or Twitch or Twitter. That's what we're on right now. If you hear my audio, you can hear it on Get Me Radio, on the online radio bot, also on MyTuner, on our KUAW.org site. And if you have a smart speaker, Amazon or Google or some other smart speaker, tell it to play KUAW, and you'll pick us up there too. We're coming to you in a lot of different ways over all the different airways we can come up with. We broadcast live video on our live shows, but we broadcast 24 hours a day, so you can hear repeats of these shows. You can also hear some of our syndicated radio shows, along with some smooth jazz, some old school music, some blues, gospel. We have all of that right here at KUAW Radio, Knowledge, Understanding, and Wisdom, Kansas City's global community radio station. Yes, they pick us up in Japan. They pick us up in Vietnam, in England, in Germany, in France. We have listeners all around the world. And we want to say welcome. Thank you for listening to us. Thank you for picking up KUAW Radio. We're growing, and we're going to continue to grow and continue to bring news and information of what's important, what's going on in our community, and to also hear what's going on in the other communities. So we're about communication over the airways, and that's what we're going to be about from now on. So thank you for joining us. So we've got a few things that we'll talk about. AI is still a big thing on the scope, and we're going to talk a little bit about AI. We're going to talk a little bit about surveillance that is becoming more pervasive in our communities and in other communities around the world. I was just looking at an article from Australia where they're concerned over the surveillance that stores are using and different public, not public, but different businesses are using, and what's happening with that data. So we're going to get to all of that, but first we have to do the shows that we normally do here, and we always like to bring you information about technology. This is a STEM radio station. Yes, we're about science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. We use mass communication. We use the arts. We use all kind of ways to reach people, but our core is STEM. Science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. We want to get kids into that pipeline so that we produce more engineers, more technicians, more scientists, mathematicians, all of those fields, and not just that they'll work in computers, but they'll work in everything. Because when you talk about the STEM fields touch almost every aspect of our lives, day in and day out, has something to do with science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. But don't think that it is just about computers. No, it goes even deeper than that. But let's make sure that we're in it. And one of the groups that is in STEM and has been there for a lot of years is the National Aeronautics and Space Administration, NASA. NASA is one of our premier research and development organizations of the United States government, and they have led the way in space exploration and aircraft design and research, been doing a lot of different things that have been very beneficial to mankind the world over. So we're going to see right now what's happening. We do it every week with what went on this week at NASA, and then we're also going to do a program called Space to Ground, where you can see a little bit of what's going on at the space station that we have orbiting about 200 miles up in the air, or in space, really, right now. So let's get ready and see if we can get this thing to go Space to Ground. Just a sec, not Space to Ground, but what's happening this week at NASA. So I'll see if I can bring that up to you. As soon as I find the right button to push. There we go. All right, this week at NASA.
Tracking a mission's historic return to Earth, a year of science on board the space station, and the safe arrival of the station's newest resident astronaut. A few of the stories to tell you about this week at NASA. The return to Earth of OSIRIS-REx, our first ever asteroid sample return mission, is nearly complete. On September 24th, as the OREX spacecraft approaches Earth, it will release a capsule containing about 8.8 ounces of sample material collected from asteroid Bennu. Following a parachute-assisted landing in the Utah desert, the capsule will be retrieved and eventually shipped to our Johnson Space Center for examination in a pristine curation facility. The sample will be unveiled during a live televised NASA news conference on October 11th. September 21st marked a full year in space for NASA astronaut Frank Rubio. Since arriving at the International Space Station, he has worked on dozens of experiments. These include an experiment that grows tomatoes using water-based and air-based techniques rather than soil, an investigation that could enable in-space 3D printing of functional human organs for transplants, and more. Rubio is scheduled to return to Earth on September 27th after a U.S. record 371 days in space. On September 15th, NASA astronaut Laurel O'Hara and 2 cosmonauts safely arrived at the space station, increasing the number of residents aboard the station to 10. This 6-month stay on the orbital outpost is O'Hara's first spaceflight. In celebration of Hispanic Heritage Month, we are releasing new content for Universo Curioso de la NASA, the agency's first Spanish-language podcast. A 5-episode season kicked off on September 19th with new episodes scheduled to be released weekly. For more about Universo Curioso de la NASA and other NASA podcasts, visit nasa.gov/podcasts. That's what's up this week at NASA. For more on these and other stories, follow us on the web at nasa.gov/twan. Tracking a mission's historic return to Earth, a year of science on board the space station, and the safe arrival of the station's newest resident astronaut.
All right. So that's what went on at NASA last week. There's a lot of exploration. I'm really watching this capsule that has gotten some soil or some samples, not soil necessarily, rock, ground, whatever, from the asteroid. It's landing back in Utah. They're trying to keep all of the contents. I think it's bringing back 8 ounces of material, but it actually went up to an asteroid out there in space, landed, took core samples, lifted off coming back to Earth, and is now sending that package down, and the spaceship is going to turn around and head back towards another asteroid. So we'll be getting a package from this craft, but the craft isn't landing. It's going out to do more exploration while it's dropping off a load. So that's showing how much they have started to automate and to advance. It used to be that a rocket went up, and then when it came back down, it brought the the capsule back, and it was all over with. But now here's a vehicle that's actually dropping off something from deep out in space and leaving to go and get some more without ever getting into Earth's atmosphere. So that is a big accomplishment that they're able to do that. Then they're trying to keep this stuff really pristine. I think it's 2 reasons. One, they want to protect that sample that they brought in. 2 is they might want to protect Earth because we really don't know what is in there. So, I doubt that there's anything live, but is there something that could become harmful or could start affecting us if it's just turned loose willy-nilly, or affect the scientists that are working with it and people there. So they're keeping it really closely under wraps till they can check out what's in these 8 ounces of sample that they've brought back from the asteroid out in deep space. So to me, that is some refreshing and some outstanding things that they have done. All right, so I just put that up there. You see the Facebook live chat connection is established. If you'd like to ask me a question, if you'd like to post something, go to our Facebook page, KUAW-radio, and you can actually leave a question or a comment, and I will answer it, or we'll work with it as it will. But you can go to our Facebook page and actually post right now, live, and we will see it. Also, I've got to start up our link to Twitter, as I will forward this over. I've got to work with Twitter and make sure that I can get back on there when I first come on live, so I don't have to go through making this link every time, but it's out there now. But I've been trying to link back up with Twitter ever since Elon Musk got in there, and it's not as easy as it once was, but we will persevere. We will continue to work with it, and we're going to be getting on more video sites, as many of them as we can find, because we've got information that we think is beneficial, that people need to hear, and we need to use these airways. This is one of the first times in mankind. I would say the internet and being able to use this is probably as culturally speaking, changing things as much as the Gutenberg press did when they could start printing books, mass producing books at a lower cost where everybody could learn to read, and books weren't something that was prized for just a few people but became universal. So from the Gutenberg press to now having the internet, information is able to get out to the masses, so we can get information out around the world. So I think this internet is probably as big to mankind as the Gutenberg press was. Now that's my opinion, but that's just the way I feel about it. So you may not agree with me, but I think that this thing is for me to be able to broadcast right now, and people can pick me up over in Africa, in Asia, in India, in Europe, all over the world at this time, and with very limited equipment. I mean, people have cell phones in some very remote areas, and they can pick this broadcast up if they have internet. And as we expand it more, that even millions and millions more people can be listening to each other, can be communicating and passing information. At the same time, we also have to be watchful of anything we do, because there's a lot more misinformation getting out there. Propaganda has a bigger reach, but truth has a bigger reach also. So we have to let everybody know that they still need to be careful of making sure that they're hearing the truth and not just propaganda, because there is a lot out there. There's always been, probably ever since the Gutenberg press, there was probably some people using that to put out propaganda. So it's something that mankind does for good or for evil. It's just how you use these different tools that are available to us today. But I think we really got something here, and all of us need to be as digitally literate as we can possibly get. Everybody's not going to be a computer scientist, but you do need to try and learn as much about this computer interactions, about the internet, about being able to call or just use cell phones and computers and tablets for what it can bring you to your life. Now, there are some people who get off of the grid and don't use anything, and that's okay, but you know, this is all exciting stuff. So what we just saw NASA doing, we're going to follow that up, as I went off into another tangent there. But let's follow that up with Space to Ground so we can see what's going on the space station that is high above the Earth right now. So this is going to be a podcast called Space to Ground by NASA from the Johnson Jet Propulsion Laboratories. So here we go.
Welcome to Space to Ground. I'm Kayla LaFrance. As the new arrivals to the International Space Station settle into their new routine of life in orbit, one spaceflight veteran is making history. On Thursday, NASA astronaut Frank Rubio celebrated his 1-year mark since his arrival to the orbiting laboratory on September 21st, 2022. Rubio is wrapping up his stay on board, and upon his return next week, he will have set the record for the longest single spaceflight by a U.S. astronaut with 371 days in space. During his year in space, Frank has been busy. On top of EVAs, multiple cargo vehicles, and routine in-flight maintenance, Rubio has been key to aiding researchers in science investigations taking place on the orbiting laboratory to improve life here on Earth, as well as pave the way for future missions to the Moon, Mars, and beyond. Investigations such as Sophie Gel, which studies burning in microgravity to help researchers select safer materials for spacecraft and determine optimal fire suppression techniques. And Surface Avatar, which evaluates the command of multiple autonomous robots from space. The investigation looks at challenges that might exist for orbit-to-ground remote operations of robots. He also tended to space tomatoes and participated in multiple human health studies. As Rubio nears the end of his year in space, he has joined his Roscosmos crewmates on their departure preparation, packing their belongings and checking out their re-entry suits that they will wear inside the Soyuz during the ride home. The trio is set to undock from the space station for their return trip inside the Soyuz MS-23 spacecraft on September 27th. After undocking, the trio will deorbit and re-enter Earth's atmosphere before parachuting to the ground safely. As always, live coverage will be provided, so follow us on social media or head over to NASA Television, the NASA app, or the agency's website for more information and times. 4 crew members are now assigned to the launch on NASA's SpaceX Crew 8 mission for a long-duration stay aboard the International Space Station. NASA astronaut Matthew Dominic will serve as commander, along with pilot Mike Barrett and mission specialist Jeanette Epps. Mission specialist Alexander Gerbenkin from Roscosmos will round out the quartet that will fly to the International Space Station in early 2024. Also this week, NASA has assigned astronaut Tracy C. Dyson to her second long-duration mission to the International Space Station as a flight engineer on the Expedition 70-71 crew. Dyson will launch on the Soyuz MS-25 spacecraft in March 2024, along with her 2 Roscosmos crewmates. They will spend approximately 6 months aboard the space station. And that's Space to Ground for this week. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next week.
So that was Space to Ground, brought to you by NASA from the Johnson Jet Propulsion Laboratory. So we're so glad that they make these available. These are programs that are funded with your tax dollars. So they make a lot of this available, and we're glad to share it with you, our listeners. You can also tell your family, your friends, or just you yourself if you're curious. Go to nasa.gov. That is a fantastic site. There's a lot of information there. For young people, there are a lot of things for them to do. There's age-appropriate problems, experiments, things that they can work on with their parents, some things that they can work on by themselves. All of that for all ages and for everybody that has some curiosity about science and technology. Check out nasa.gov. And I highly endorse that for everyone. So you need to go there and check it out. All right. Last week we started talking about a little bit of AI and AI in education, how AI is spreading, how AI is being used. Everybody talks about ChatGPT, which is not the only thing that is AI. That's the big what do I want to say? The one that everybody's talking about is a big news item right now. But that's not all there is. But AI in education is going to be coming, and it really, a lot of people are arguing or advocating that teachers just need to learn how to use it better. It says, AI and Stanford, you see this guy is Glenn Kleiman. And this is an article that we got from Education Week. Education Week, Miss Lorraine LeGrayo, that we started reading last week, started giving you some information from it. This article, which is about 7 pages long, it's a pretty hefty article, goes into what AI is being used for. And Glenn Kleiman, a senior advisor at the Stanford Graduate School of Education, whose research focuses on the potential of AI to enhance teaching and learning. He says, suddenly, the capabilities became available to everybody and easily accessible. So people are beginning to realize that there's something different out here in the world. Now people are using AI for everything. They use it to plan trips, draft emails, to summarize research papers, to write code. I mean, people are using it. I've used it myself. I wanted to get into it and see how it works. AI can do some great things. It's not that it can do it and it comes out perfect. You have to reread some of the things that ChatGPT does. And in K through 12 classroom, teachers have used ChatGPT to plan lessons, to put together rubrics, to provide students feedback on assignments, to respond to parents' emails, and to write letters of recommendation. So teachers are using AI. We're using AI. So AI is here. ChatGPT has become something that is just widely available. You can go to it. The ChatGPT 3 is the version 3 or 3.5 that's free. ChatGPT 4, which is better, costs more. So ChatGPT 3, that's the one they say it's dated. It can only tell you things up till 2021 or whenever the data was loaded, and now everything's being rolled into some of the smarter ChatGPT 4. But it still is a pretty powerful piece of AI out there. And then people are worried about AI taking over the world, or is this doomsday? Are we creating our own end? Is this going to be a destruction to people? And there is some caution that we should have to AI. There's researchers, it says thousands of executive researchers and engineers who work in the AI field have sounded the alarm more than once in recent months that AI poses a risk of extinction of the human race and have called for a moratorium on its development. And Mr. Altman said that he's a little bit scared of AI and conceded that it will eliminate many jobs. But what happens when the superpowers of AI fall into the wrong hands? Or if militaries around the world, which already have some autonomous weapons, fall into competitive pressure to create more sophisticated autonomous weapons to the point where they're uncontrollable and unpredictable. So those are some things that we do have to take into consideration, that as we use AI, as we're turning more responsibility over to AI, it could get crazy. You know, it could do some things. Hal Alberson, a professor and a researcher in computer science and artificial intelligence at MIT, said that while many of the doomsday scenarios we hear about in the media about AI aren't likely, they are also not impossible. So there is a possibility that AI could destroy the world or could destroy mankind. You know, it's just like when they were, if you've seen the movie about the guy that invented the atom bomb, Oppenheimer. If you've seen Oppenheimer and when he was talking to the general that was in charge of the research for the Manhattan Project, and he says, well, what's this about if we set off the bomb, if we push the button, that we might ignite the atmosphere and destroy the world? And the guy said, well, it's a probability in science. He said, but it's real minute, you know, stuff. He said, well, how minute is it? And, you know, like one and, some bunch of zeros behind it. But he couldn't say that it was impossible that it wouldn't happen. So when they got ready to first use the first atomic bomb, there was a possibility that the world could get destroyed just by setting it off, even just as a test, that it might ignite the atmosphere and just burn up all the oxygen in the air and everybody'd be dead and we wouldn't be here. Well, that didn't happen. They did test the bomb. They exploded the bomb. The atmosphere didn't fire up and we weren't all destroyed. But there was a possibility that it could happen because it's never been done before. So nobody could say exactly what was going to happen when they exploded it because this is the first time it's ever been done. You can take, calculated risk. Well, AI is not quite that doomsday-ish that, it's going to happen at the blink of an eye or flip of a switch. But the possibility exists that as governments, as militaries make bombs, as if they're making more weapons and trying to outdo each other with AI and getting them to where they're more autonomous, where they don't have to wait for a human to command them, that they'll take action to protect us from the beginning. If they get too far down that line, they could set off something, as you saw in Terminator and stuff, of this doomsday scenario where the machines take over. So that's not that it couldn't happen, but it's not there yet. But generative AI is there, and generative AI tools are trained at a certain time. They have so much information, and the data sets they are trained on are not updated regularly. So these tools can provide outdated information or can fabricate facts when asked about events that occurred after they were trained. So they can make up stuff. AI isn't totally true. If you asked it to answer a question, it's going to give you some kind of answer. For instance, the free version of ChatGPT doesn't have training beyond events and information available in 2021. So anything that happened after 2021, it doesn't have that data in it. Now, does that mean if you ask it who's going to win the election of 2022 or 2023, it won't come up with an answer? It will. It's going to try to come up with something that sounds possible. Or if you ask what team is most likely to win the Super Bowl in 2023, well, it doesn't have any information past 2021, so it would have to use football players and everything from then. It wouldn't know a rookie that's in there, so it would tell you this team because of this player and this coach, which may be totally out of line because it doesn't know anything past 2021. So computers a lot of times are only as smart as the data. So they're not really super smart machines. They're just super fast in doing things and looking at different proposals. But as far as being smart, no, not smart, but they can work at, because their creative side, their thinking ability is not that well developed. So that's something that we can take solace in for right now. Now, who knows how the future will be, but right now it's not that GPT is getting ready to go so far, so fast, but will it in the future? It could. One of the things that talks about with education, though, education still doesn't go away. We still need to learn even with AI. But, we may just have to change the things that we do or the way that we learn. It says that it has data sets that only go up so far. The AI tools, if left unchecked, could amplify harmful stereotypes about people who are already disadvantaged. And that's according to Yazamibet Milder, the founder and CEO of Data for Black Lives, a nonprofit organization whose mission is to use data and technology to improve the lives of black people. So it could do some harm in the fact that people that don't have a lot of say-so, that aren't being recognized now, may be even left farther behind, can even be harder to break through the different levels and stuff. To combat the inaccuracies that come with using AI models, some education organizations are focusing on the version of the technology that they're calling a walled garden AI. And that's AI trained only on content vetted by its creator. But even at that, it's like, who is its creator? And what would its creator say should be included? So there are things that could be stereotypes, misinformation, things that got passed down about different people or peoples that could get reinforced by the use of AI, and some people would take it for gospel because if they ask it and they start believing in AI, that could be a problem. One example of this stretch and not yet publicly available chatbot trained only on information that was created or vetted by the International Society for Technology and Education and the Association for Supervision and Curriculum Development. So those are some different chatbots that are being used that maybe will have better data in them, and they're not open to get a lot of outside data. There's a chatbot that's being developed by the nonprofit Khan Academy that will act like a tutor. So these more focused bots could potentially be an excellent model for K-12 schools to use because they're theoretically more tailored to the needs of educators and students. So that's the walled version of a chat GPT or an AI generative machine, that it would be able to be used as a tutor, be able to check if kids are getting it, learning it by a series of questions and answers that kids may be more willing to work with it. But it says some expert warns that these models still have to work to keep out bad information. So it's going to be a thing that we'll have to continue to look for. And what will students need to succeed in an AI-powered world? To prepare for the future of AI is everywhere and in everything. Students will need to know the foundational skills in reading, math, science, and history. So, from some of the, and this is from Hadi Partovi, he's the CEO of Code.org, and that's what he says that you're going to need in this digital world, that to prepare for an AI is everywhere world, students will still need to know the foundational skills of reading, math, science, and history. So that's something that doesn't change. But schools will also need to be more explicit about teaching students how to learn rather than what to learn, because that will help them become much better problem solvers. So it's maybe not that you don't need to know how to do math, reading, science, history, and all of that. You're still going to need that, according to some educators. We'll still need to be able to read. We'll still need to be able to add and to know some things. But we need to be able to be self-directed so that we can learn on our own. As it says, students should be taught how to learn rather than what to learn. And that means that you should be able to go into more different learning styles. It could even be better. So we need to evolve for a world of lifelong learning. And that's from the guy that started Code.org again. Lifelong learning and knowing that is in every job and in every year you're going to be learning new things using digital access to information and AI tools to help you along the way. That's really a different format of learning than what most of us learned in K through 12. So we're talking about lifelong learning that it will never end. And really, lifelong learning is pretty much there now. A lot of times we don't know when we're learning new stuff. It's just kind of part of life. But it's just like when computers started, or when that new VCR, well, some of you might not even remember the VCR, came around, and people had to try and learn how to program it. As you get these new cell phones that have so many features, lifelong learning, you still have to learn how to use this. You get passed up if you say, well, I'm not going to learn it. And then when you go to the doctor and they say, well, we'll send you this information by email or we'll text it to you, you say, well, oh, I don't know how to do that. To be abreast of what's going on, to be abreast of the new things is something that we should want to do. Lifelong learning is something that is human nature, really. We shouldn't say, I don't want to learn anything else anymore, because nobody knows it all. So it's always about constantly learning, constantly evolving and changing. Change is a part of life. Things just do not stay the same. We've got to be ready to go. So AI should be high up on school district priority list. And there's a lot on the plate right now for schools: staffing shortages and student achievement, mental health, student motivation, all of that. But we still should be on our schools, our teachers, to ask them, what are they doing with AI? Not that we maybe know the right thing or the wrong thing to do, but we need to know, are they using it? Are they investigating it? Is the school district that my child in going to be using AI? A lot of jobs are going to be using or already using AI. Maybe not just as Chat GPT, but as many other functions. So we want to look at AI, and we want to look at it with an open mind that it has benefits. Yes, it also could have problems. You know, nothing, any tool can be beneficial and it could be harmful. AI is no different. It may come in different ways, but that's something that we should be willing or ready to start investigating and looking at and seeing what AI is. One thing I'm going to talk with my wife later, if she's not already on here, but I was looking up. If you listen to this show or if you watch this station much, you know that there is a cooking show with Millie, Senior Moments. And I was looking on that now they have AI that does recipes, showing you how to use it, how much of different things to put in, that you can give it the information of what you've got to work with in the house, and then ask it to come up with a recipe. And it can do it. So we may do some AI experiments on Senior Moments in the near future. I'm going to talk with her and see if we can work that out. So stay tuned. We may bring the 21st century right to Senior Moments, and that we will be using AI to do some of the cooking and work that we're going to be doing at home. So stay tuned. Be ready for that in the near future. Mildred, if you're listening to the show right now, get ready for it. Okay, as we get ready to close out, I want to talk to you. I got an article from Australia, but I think it has some relevance here because I'm hearing some of the same things, and there's some of the same complaints from retailers. It says retailers are rapidly scaling surveillance of Australian consumers. And it was from Matthew Sansbury in, let's see, want to give the right source. Oh, this was in Tech Republic. I got this from Tech Republic, and they've got it from Security. Matthew Sansbury in Security. So check it out. Australian retailers are rolling out mass surveillance solutions to combat shoplifting. But a poor regulatory environment could mean high risk associated with data security and privacy. So, as is happening over in Australia, as here, you heard Walmart announced earlier this year they were closing some store due to a high volume of shoplifting, that things are coming up missing, they can't keep control of it. So in Australia, one of the things that they're doing is increasing their surveillance of people. And it's a thing that they're wanting to watch out for there, and I think it's something that we should be concerned about here in the United States. They're putting in cameras and sensors in a lot of things that are picking up patterns of speech, not just facial recognition, but checking on how you walk, all of that thing, that you can be identified by a lot of different things. And it's not just facial recognition. It may be voice patterns, all of this. They're collecting all of this and then watching people through the store, that they will be able to not only identify shoplifting or prevent shoplifting, but now that information goes into a database, so that if a person was a shoplifter once, are they a shoplifter forever? Is that database passed around to other law enforcement? Is it kept? They said that the law over in Australia says that any video surveillance information has to be destroyed after its intended use. So it's like if you go in the store and you come out and you don't steal anything, then they should get rid of that. If they didn't have any shoplifting over the last week or 2 weeks, then that film should be, destroyed. But they're trying to work around that with third parties that are using the information for other things. We're not just using it for surveillance, but we use it to also pick up marketing information. Well, if it's still being used for marketing, like this person looked at this and then they looked at that and then they bought the first one they looked at. So we want to know how do we market that the first thing they look at is our product, or we can sell this information to the manufacturers of these different products so that they know how to best sell it to people. Well, now they can keep that data for a long time because they're using it in marketing. So if stores are starting to get your voice, starting to get your irises, your eyes, starting to get your facial recognition. And then if you don't even know it or they don't have to disclose that they're doing it, then what happens to that information? You know, do you have a choice to not shop at stores because they say we're using video surveillance? We're using multiple surveillance methods. That if you come in this store, your voice, your walk, your look, everything is going to be analyzed that we can use to help prevent shoplifting. You may not be a shoplifter, but you may not want Walmart to have all this information about you. There's a lot of cameras up in stores now. They're looking at facial recognition. What's happening with that data? Who is watching what they're doing with that data? And as they collect more and more data on people, we have to know what our data is being used for. They didn't ask you if they could do it. They did it. You were on their property, but their property is a public store. You know, these are things that we need to look at. And in Australia, they're trying to look at it now. Is this surveillance necessary? As a lot of these stores are showing record profits and they're still going up, but then they're claiming they're having all this problem with that. So data privacy concerns from consumers aren't new, but that's something that we should constantly work at. What's happening with this data? We give a lot of our data to Google, to Facebook. They give you free access to their services of being able to post pictures of kittens and cats and dogs and send things back and forth to people. Now they're saying we got all your information and we might not even care to give you this free information, this free use of our services. Now you got to pay for it. Like Twitter. Twitter's wanting you to pay for it. Now it was free because we're collecting information from you. So you signed off and said, okay, you accept their rules and stuff. Now they're saying, well, we got your information that we're getting from you, but we want you to pay to use the service too. Wow, that's a big change of events, right? Yeah, first you signed off and said they've got this information because I can use this service that they're offering for free. And now it's like, well, we want you to pay $8 a month to use this service, and we got your information too. So you're getting used a couple of times, and we're not getting a lot out of it, except we're able to see these kittens and send stuff back and forth over their platform. That's something that we should think about. That's something that we need to look at. Do we want to open free internet? Do we want an internet that, you know, we have more freedoms on, or do we want an internet that's really closed in? Those are things that are going to be coming up as we go through the future. I think we'll get some more information about that. But stay tuned. We'll be back. This is our show for today. But just wanted to give you some things to think about, something that makes you go, yes, what are they doing with all that information that we so easily gave them? Yes. So that's something to ponder a little bit as we go forward in life. Thank you for joining. We're glad that you were here, glad that you were listening, and that you were watching KUAW's broadcast of BFTAA and more. As I said, we now have a new partner, KOJH, in the historic Jazz District of Kansas City, located in the Mutual Musicians Foundation on 18th and Highland. So we're glad to be a part of this radio station broadcast. We're also proud of all of the people at KUAW and KOJH that have been working together, collaborating to make this possible. So KUAW is growing, KOJH is growing. We're all about getting the information out to the community, and that's each and every one of you. So join us again next Monday from 5 to 5:45 for BFTAA and more with your host, me, George Walker. Yes, glad to be here with you. All right, that's it for today. Thank you. And if I can get this mouse together, we'll say bye-bye.